is that once people are essentially social beings, are the most important aspects of our environments are other people. That's the kind of creature we are. And so when you put them surrounded by other people in these environments, people's behaviors change, their cognition changes, their attitude towards the future changes. So that's fascinating and actually can be measured. So in some sense, we become part of these networks and we work differently. And so this is what cities allow. Here, there are things like your tolerance to different people. You see even sort of in the way people vote. People tends to be more pro-social and pro-government and tolerant of people from different races and castes and origins, because it's the reality. It's what we experience in everyday life. Doesn't mean that people necessarily like it. Depends how you ask the question. Yeah. But in general, there's a lot more tolerance and acceptance that that's the way the world should be. So it's kind of fascinating. And these are things that are not just like the infrastructure and the roads, or sort of the GDP as an abstract thing, but to do really with how people live and approach life and behave. So I think that that's kind of very important. But the part then that I think connects us to another part of science, particularly this idea of cultural evolution and sort of a larger view of what humans are and what our societies are, is that in some sense, if our superpower as a species is hypersociality, the ability to interact and cooperate is really with people who are not our relatives, then you need an environment so that becomes possible and that becomes feasible at some level. Not to say cities are easy, but it becomes feasible. And then in some sense, that's what cities are. They're sort of a cultural adaptation to allow large-scale sociality, which for humans has most of the time great benefits. So that's what cities are. We call it sort of, in one of my papers, I call it sort of a social reactor. It's just it's kind of a niche, an environment that allows people to create larger and larger co-located